All right, so today I wanted to make a small video showing you how to install a WordPress multi-site installation with Ymir. Um, Installing a multi-site, just setting up multi-site with WordPress is always a bit of a tricky thing to do, but it's a bit more, also a bit trickier with Ymir as well, because you're going to have to deploy a couple of times. So I wanted to show you uh, a full, the full thing. So how to go from no projects. So as you can see, we have like no files here, and we're just going to set up a multi-site. So the first thing is we need to obviously create a project called Multisite. It's going to be a WordPress project. We're going to put it in US East 1. And do you want to use an existing database? I'm going to use my standard database. We also want to create the staging and production databases. We'll call it Multisite. That's fine. And here we haven't detected WordPress, so we're going to download it. Yes. Install the Ymir plugin as well. It's great. Do we want to use container images? I prefer that, so I'm going to say yes, but it's not really required here. So here we are. We now have our WordPress project. We have our Ymir file, Docker file. We're good to go. So we can go ahead and deploy the project. So we're going to deploy the project for the first time. And as part of this process, we're gonna have to install WordPress. So you can't just go. This is standard either way, whether you're using Ymir or not. You can't just create a WordPress installation like this. You have to actually do a couple of things. So we're going to start by installing WordPress, and then I'll walk you through the rest of what you need to do. All right, so I've skipped ahead. Deployment is now done. So we have our environment vanity URL. So if I'm going to have a browser window open behind this, I'm going to just shrink this window a bit and bring this up. So if I just bring this up here, this should bring us to the WordPress installation screen. So we're call it Ymir Multisite, and then Ymir, and then password, which is going to be something silly. Then discourage, that's not really important. We'll call it like Carl at example.org. Just again, nothing crazy. And then we're just gonna. So that's the first step. We need to install WordPress and log in. So just make sure that the login works fine. Cool. This is really annoying. All right. So right now we have our regular site. It's not a multi-site yet. So the first thing, so I'm going to shrink this also a bit so I can bring this back up. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go. So by default, Ymir can deploy without you having a wp-config file there. So if we like look here, there's no wp-config, there's just a wp-config sample. What we're going to do is we're going to copy that wp-config sample .php. And again, if you already have a wp-config, you don't need to do this step, but what we need is to go in here. And somewhere in here, doesn't really matter. I'm going to go towards the bottom is here. We want to define wp allow multi site true. And then we save. Then we're going to need to redeploy. So I'm just going to start that right now. And so what this does, that flag, is that it creates, it tells WordPress that you want to install multi-site. So that's usually the first step of what you need to do, is you need to put this in your wp-config. And once that's deployed, we'll have an option in the admin that will say, okay, we can install WordPress multi-site. So that's really the first step that's really important. So you could maybe we could have maybe deployed right away with this step, but I wanted to take the time to just show you step by step what you needed to do. Here I'm talking because the first deploy always takes longer. That's why I skipped it. But here, this one should be a lot faster. And really, once we have this, we can go ahead and start with the multi-site installation. And I'll work you through some of the maybe potential pitfalls you might run into, but we'll see that in a second. All right, so I've skipped ahead actually a decent amount because I made a mistake. So I'm just gonna walk you through what ended up happening here. So I made a typo and I forgot an apostrophe here. So it led to the site doing a white screen. But if I refresh now, we should be good to go. Yeah, here we go. So just make sure that you didn't deploy with that mistake like I did. Now, if we go back and look here under tools, you'll see that there's now a nice little network setup option here, which lets us choose. So I just want to walk a couple of things with you. So if you go to plugins and you activate a plugin that's not the Ymir plugin, you cannot install a network. So make sure that if you're going to do this and it's not a brand new site, that you're deactivating everything but the Ymir plugin. You can try deactivating it, but it's programmed to like come back on. So you can't really disable it. There's just code in there to fool the network setup and make it think that there's no plugin active. So now you can choose between a subdomain or a subdirectories install. Here, just for the sake of making it easier to demonstrate, we're going to choose subdirectories because with subdomains, it's a bit trickier. We need to you need to configure each subdomain within your configuration, and it doesn't work with the vanity domain names, the Ymir vanity domain names. So we're going to go with subdirectories install. Ymir multi-site sites, network admin. So we just click install. And this is going to bring us to the second phase. So here, what you want to do, you can disregard this part here because there's no htaccess, there's no Apache, there's nothing to do here, but we do need this. So we need to add this to our wp-config. So we're going to go back and do that. So going here, going towards the end, we're going to just append it. So we're just going to add all this stuff and then deploy again. So again, if I didn't make any mistakes this time, this is going to be a short deploy, but just for brevity of the video, we're going to skip ahead. All right, so we're back. The site finished deploying. So if we refresh here, okay, it wants to send. We don't want to do that. Let's just click here. What happens if we do this? Okay, we're logged out. So that's fine. That's actually a good sign. So if I try logging in again, okay, get out. All right. So we can see that we have the network admin. All of that's working fine. So if we go to Ymir Multisite, we can visit the site. And then just for sanity purposes, we're going to go and add a new site. So I'll just call it subsite. Subsite, Ymir subsite, admin email, Carl at example.org. Yeah, exactly. Same one. And we're going to do add site. If I did my thing correctly, we should be good to go. So if we visit the dashboard for the subsite, Ymir subsite, is there theme already selected? Yes. So we should be able to visit the site, Ymir subsite. Here we go. There's some weirdness there, but we have our subsites. So we really have two sites, multi-sites working. So that's kind of how you set it up. Like I said, I'll just finish up with this little caveat. You cannot do a multi-site installation for subdomains using Ymir's vanity URLs. So if you want to do a subdomain setup, you can do the same thing that we just did right now, but you need to have a domain that you can map to. And then you have to make sure that you're mapping all the subdomains that you want to use with your multi-site inside your Ymir configuration. So there are a bit more hoops, but in general, that's all you need to do to set up a multi-site installation with Ymir. So I hope that was helpful.